What's up, Halas Huddlers? This is a surprise. In studio, Justin Oniemi. This has been about a year, I think.
I almost wanted to huddle up.
Yes, we will. We will. It's been a while, but we have an awesome episode tonight. We're going to continue down the path. Last episode, we went over some of the first round targets that I felt fit with the Chicago Bears' needs and schemes. Tonight, we're going to go into the second round. I actually have a lot more guys. I think it makes sense based off of how rankings are going and where I see this draft. And it seems to me like there's a big group of guys in that 25, which is where the Bears pick, probably down to like 45 range, kind of all huddled, mixed together. I have 20 guys to mention.
Yeah. Well, we were just talking right before the show that, these are where you have them graded, like what their value is. But some of these names are names we are hearing that the Bears could potentially be targeting even at 25.
Yeah.
And so this isn't us saying that it's unrealistic that those guys are possibilities at 25 or that they could fall farther.
Yeah. Perfect example. There's talks that Dylan Thieneman is moving so far up the draft board. We had him in the last one as like a dream scenario if he had fell down to 25. I don't know. There's a chance he might go top 15.
Wow.
So
yeah.
So might surprise some people. But let's go second round. We're going to dive into this. Before we do, please hit the subscribe button. Please check out the channel. Plenty of draft content out there, plenty more content to come. And comment, please. When we go through this, we're not going to touch on every single person. I'm going to just mention names, and then we're going to kind of go into detail on some of them. I think I hit on pretty much every position group with at least one name. If there is someone that you specifically want to discuss and you want more feedback from where I stand on that player, please comment on that and let me know. And we'll continue the conversation there. Or if you disagree with one of my thoughts, please let me know in the comments as well.
All right, let's go position group by position group.
Yes.
And first, just look at the defensive line. Who do you have as second round grade type of players? And then we'll highlight a few of them in more detail.
Yeah, so I think fans are going to get a little bit upset with me here. I have 3 defensive ends who I'm willing to take in the second round. With one guy who's a notable mention, and then I have 1 defensive tackle, and that's it. I mean, if some of these first round guys fall, obviously, you got to consider them. I think people are going to get really upset that I don't have Grayson Halton on here, the Oklahoma defensive tackle. I know the Bears seem very heavily interested in him. They were at Oklahoma's pro day. He is on my notable mentions list for the second round. I have a 3rd round grade on him. The thing is, they might have to take him in the second round if they truly want him, because you got to wait all the way to pick 89. And I don't think he's going to get all the way to 89, right? So you might have to jump up ahead on that. But the guys that I do have in the second round, one of them goes with what you were just mentioning, Zion Young. Zion Young, I have a second round grade on. I mentioned him in the last episode as a notable mention. He could be a late first round pick. I know people are saying, possibly at 25. I would prefer if that was the case, they trade back to get him. I feel like he's got some limitations to his game. Your son's alma mater, well, not yet, but your alma mater, your wife's alma mater, Bob's alma mater.
That's right.
Not my alma mater. Gabe Ais, defensive end out of Illinois, is another guy there. And then Derek Moore out of Michigan. So I have those guys ranked. Zion Young, Gabe Ais, and Derek Moore is slightly below them. Basically, really quick, guys, they are big-bodied defensive ends who can play the run well, contain on the edge, but they have production that we have seen at the collegiate level. And that, to me, is key, right? Production. This isn't like your Shamar Stewarts where, you get – sorry, did I say – yeah,
that's right.
I almost said Shamar Turner. Almost said Shamar Turner, who got like 4 sacks over his entire collegiate career, right? Like, these are guys playing at a high level in big programs and getting to the quarterback. Fit Dennis Allen's scheme. The defensive tackle that I have on this list, Christian Miller. A lot of people have him as a first round grade. I have him as that fringe guy, very similar to Zion Young, probably in that same range. But he's a little bit on the bigger side for Dennis Allen, but I think he's like a tweener. I think he can play at like 315. And I think Dennis Allen would be okay with that based on his skill set, because he's a guy who can penetrate the gaps, but he's also a guy who can stack and shed and defend the run. And there's not a lot of guys in this draft class who fit that category. It's either nose tackle, run stopping, or penetrator, get to the quarterback, but not both. There's only a handful.
And then also, check me if I'm wrong here. He's a young prospect as well, right?
Yes.
So I think you kind of look at, okay, you're getting a guy, you can develop him, and he's already showing that he can do both things, rush from the interior and stop the run, which were both issues for the Chicago Bears last season.
Real quick, before we move on to the next group, someone posted the run, the pass rush win rate and the run stopping win rate, right? In a whole graph of all the teams, and they had different colors, and purple was meaning that you weren't very good. The defensive tackle group was 4.5. They were like one of the worst in the league. Worst in the league.
I know we're moving on, but Zion Young, actually, if you look at his like PFF type numbers for pass rush win rate, that is so hard to say.
Yes.
Was like 17%, I want to say, which is strong.
Yes.
Very strong.
Very
but
so.
His rush win rate was also very high, like almost 10% or something like that.
Yeah.
So a guy that can do both,
and
learning
also
from a guy
and also
like
another young prospect,
Montez Sweat.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like we knock him sometimes, but he was double-digit sacks this year and has always been able to play the run. And so if you're able to do both those things, you're a contributing factor for years to come.
Yeah. And just like the Grayson Halton thing, like if you want him, and I think this is why he's being mocked at 25, if you want him, you probably have to take him at 25 because the chances of you getting him at 57 are so slim.
But we talked about the Bears have draft capital. They can move up, they can move back. So when we say move back from 25 to find that sweet spot to draft these guys, maybe you're getting someone else at 25 you really like, and you're packaging picks to move up to where you need to get another guy.
Yeah, because look, they got 2 picks in the second round, 57 and 60. So,
well, we talked on the line. How about we go to defensive backs? This is another place we know just by what the depth chart currently looks, that the Bears likely will have their eye both early and possibly mid part of this draft. But here we're talking about who has that second round grade, which again could mean they're a stretch at 25 or somebody to consider in 57 and 60.
Yeah, I would be really surprised if Emmanuel McNeil-Warren dropped to the second round. I do have him slightly below the 25 mark for the Bears. I don't have him on my list to talk about. We talked about him in the last episode as a first round target. So let's go safety position first. We got AJ Halsey out of LSU, Kamari Ramsey out of USC, Genesis Smith out of Arizona. I know he is one of those guys that could be as low as a 5th round pick on some guys' boards, and for me, as high as a 2nd round pick on my board. And then I'm going to throw in a name here, and we're going to tween him, and that's Keontae Scott. He's a kind of a corner, but has some safety flexibility, in my opinion. Look, AJ Halsey's the guy I want to talk about out of this group. He is one of those guys who's just he's going to be a robber, in my opinion, in this league. So he's going to be the guy that can just kind of sit back, watch the quarterback, and then come downhill and just thump. What he lacks is the ability to turn his hips quickly and take on those deep balls that guys who go past him maybe in the seam. If he's got to do any type of fluid mobility, it's just not quite there. So I think that's why he's dropping down to the second. But a big time tackler definitely is going to help you in the run game, which is something Dennis Allen employs from his backfield. To me, he's probably a better Jaquan Brisker.
That's a good way to put it, and wouldn't be disappointed if you get a guy like that. But I think they more so want those safeties that have the duplicity to do both roles, or even the flexibility to play nickel at times.
Which he can do that. He cannot play man.
Well, I was just going to say, not every prospect's a perfect prospect, or they'd all be first-round picks.
Exactly.
And so the farther a guy goes in the draft, then maybe there's a reason, and you value him for what he is showing.
Right. I forgot to mention, we have a full mock draft in this episode as well, too. So please stick around for the end. We will go through our full mock draft as well. Just really quick on Kamari Ramsey and Genesis Smith. I don't want to talk about it much. The one Kamari Ramsey has injury history. That's my concern with him. Genesis Smith, people say he can't tackle. I think he's a willing tackler. He does, I think, come down into the box and do run support. And I do think his missed tackle percentage is kind of overblown. So I think he is someone who you could get later in the second round if they decided to move back. All right, corners, really quick. I mentioned Keontae Scott. The other two that I already talked about in our last episode because we mocked him was Davison Ignabesian. I'm saying it wrong.
Igbinosun. And my dad complimented how you said it last week.
The first time, yes. I practiced, and then I didn't practice tonight.
It's not a Yoruba name, though, so
no.
That's okay.
Okay. I'd probably butcher it even more if it was. And then Keith Abney, the second out of Arizona State. Keontae Scott, look, he is a guy, he doesn't necessarily fit the mold here for Dennis Allen. Or I shouldn't say that. I think he kind of fits more of like that nickel corner role. He'd probably be very similar to having CJ Gardner-Johnson back, someone who can play that safety position, but also can play corner, someone who can come up to the line of scrimmage, great run defender. There's many times where you see him and Bain from Miami constantly just take on one side while the rest of the team is covering the other side. And those two are sure tacklers. Wow. Can tackle in the open field and blitzing. I mean, that is something I feel like Dennis Allen would love to see from this guy. And he gets to the quarterback fast, but he's an older prospect. So you're talking 24, going to be 25 this year. So he's going to be an older prospect, just similar to Akeem Mesidor, also out of Miami.
Not similar to Velus Jones.
Not similar to Velus Jones. Guys, age is a problem when you're not good. That's the key. All right, let's get into this group. Very, very important group. But
He's got the ring.
Don't think he does have the ring. Asshole. I don't think that it's as big of a need anymore for the Chicago Bears.
True.
Okay.
Not because of Jack Sanborn.
Not because of Jack
Sanborn.
Don't
say because of Jack Sanborn.
Other than they've added depth, right? Like that to me is just key. I think if they were going to target one, if someone fell to them positionally wise in this draft, sure, you take it. But I don't think they're going to go out of their way like I did in our last mock draft before the Jack Sanborn signing. And I went and got Josiah Trotter, right? Who didn't really fit the scheme necessarily, where these guys do. And there's two names on here that we got to talk about. Anthony Hill Jr. out of Texas, Jacob Rodriguez, who everyone is falling in love with.
I'm surprised you have a second round grade. Everyone's talking about him as a first round prospect. And then I've seen him slip in mocks. And then I'm feeling like, okay, if you're the Bears and he is there at 57,
yeah,
he's probably too good to pass on. But to your point, it's no longer a position you feel like, oh, wow, they need to fill in for Tremaine Edmonds, that type of thing.
What it is it's an off-the-ball linebacker. It's not a guy who's going to rush. So their value, positionally-wise, just drops. And when I see him, he is a great middle linebacker. In fact, I'm not going to compare him to Urlacher in the sense that I think he's going to be that type of player.
Size, speed, though.
Size, speed. But what I struggle with him, and when I watch film, is if he and when I watch film and picture him in the Chicago Bears system, he is not someone that is going to be able to get free from second level blockers. And he needs one of those run stopping, those gap penetrating, just anchored down, take on two blocks, Keith Traylor type.
Keith Traylor. Right? I was trying to picture Washington.
Ted Washington type, where you leave your linebacker free to then attack the gaps, right? And he doesn't quite have that yet. But again, not an older, I think he's 22. So I mean, he's like, middle-aged when it comes to college prospects.
Middle-aged.
And I think
coming from us,
I think he would fit the system very.
He's 23.
He's 23. Okay, I thought he was 22, turning 23, so I was wrong. So he is a little bit of an older prospect. It just
ancient.
I don't think he's a first round type of player. I think he's a second round type of player. If you can get him at 57 or 60, feel free. I'm not going to complain about it. I think he would look great in a Bears uniform. Keep up with that middle linebacker type feel that we've always had here. Anthony Hill Jr., very, very fast. You want to talk about a guy with speed? That's who you want there. But I picture him less of a middle linebacker and more of a will. And you already have that with Devin Bush.
I was just about to say, you hope he turns into Devin Bush.
Right.
But you already have Devin Bush.
Exactly. So it doesn't really make sense to me there. And then Jake Galde out of Cincinnati, again, a guy who plays in the middle, not as fast sideline to sideline, or even getting downhill as Anthony Rodriguez or Jacob Rodriguez. So I would just bypass that. Anything else before we move on?
No.
All right. This might shock you guys. I think it's possible that Ben Johnson goes after some more offensive weapons because that's his mentality. And I don't think it's going to be, there's a chance it's not just defense in those first 4 picks like a lot of us are thinking because we know the defense has holes. There's a good chance that they look at left tackle help. There's a good chance that they look at tight end help because, look, I know we all love Colston Loveland. He's clearly the tight end 1. You lost your 3rd tight end. Cole Kmet is getting older. I love Cole Kmet. Eventually, he's going to be gone. Probably next year, if I had to guess.
I still think he's your solid 2. You can
100%.
fill in your 3 a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be in the draft.
Yes.
But to your point about left tackle, a year ago when they drafted Ozzie Trapillo, it was like, ooh, he's a right tackle, and we're going to convert him. And at first, it wasn't working.
Nope.
And then in a limited sample size, it looked like it was working enough. Like he was starting to look like he was taking on that position and then had a catastrophic injury.
Yes.
So you already had question marks, and now you add the question mark of health, and will he ever be the same? It's not out of the question that if there's a guy they like, they might go after a left tackle, even in the first round. But
I think we
definitely the further the draft goes.
I think we mentioned on the show. So it was a pectoral tear, right? So like, right? Not a patella tendon tear. Sorry. I think
tear.
I think we mentioned on the show. It is a full tear, which is very different than Josh Simmons, who went to the Chiefs, who had a partial tear. So yeah, he came back within a year.
Way in the draft because of it.
He did, and he played very well for the Chiefs, but he did come back, but it took him a bit, right? I don't think we're seeing Trapillo before week 10, if I'm just guessing based off of what I've read from reports. And there's a chance that he might never be exactly what he was before. So I know people are going to get mad about this name because sometimes he gets mocked in the first round at the 25 pick. But Caden Proctor, both Ryan Poles and Jeff King were at Alabama's Pro Day today. Now, there's plenty of other prospects to look at when you're at Alabama's Pro Day, but they were front and center for Caden Proctor. Now, you want to talk about a young guy, 20 years old.
Size
is just enormous. Yeah, I mean, he is your true prototypical size left tackle. Gary is rolling over, like screaming at me right now because Alabama left tackles, they just don't work. I get it until they do, right? Eventually it's going to happen. And he's a young guy who just has so much growth and potential.
Size, but also can move.
He can. I will say he takes plays off at times, what bothers me. Some of his downfield blocking, he just doesn't find a guy at times. But he does have the ability. And you got to think,
he's young and
Dan Rochar is going to coach that into him, right? So don't be surprised if they take him at 25. Wow. I don't want it necessarily because I think there's better prospects than him at that point. But if he fell into the second round, could they move up for him? Hell yes, they could.
For sure.
I did not put any right tackle prospects on this for the Bears, but there are guys that
they should be locked up at right tackle for a while. They should be.
But if they took the approach, right tackle, Ozzie Trapillo, move him to the left side, could they do that with another draft pick in this draft? It's possible. I just don't necessarily want
really like
them
that guy.
Right?
I don't think so. Yeah.
But Blake Miller would be an option out of like Clemson, right? But he's not on my list. But if they wanted to go OG, they wanted to get a guard. That could be a possibility. And I almost said Christian Miller.
Chase
Bizanitis. I think I said it right.
Maybe.
I think I said it right. Guard out of Texas A&M. Again, somebody who could potentially give you some help at tackle, but then play guard the next year when maybe Jonah Jackson's not on the roster, or maybe Joe Tooney's not on the roster. Not something I would bank on or want to go do, but if they decided that was the path they wanted to take, I wouldn't complain about it.
I thought you were going to mention center.
I did not. I will say one thing about center in a second. Really quick on tight end. The only guy I would think here is Max Clare out of Ohio State. He is a guy who can come in and develop into being that tight end 2 in this offense. has good receiving capability, but is already a strong blocker. And we know that that's very important for that tight end 3 position for the Chicago Bears in Ben Johnson's offense. Center, I don't have any second round grades on centers, guys. I just don't. The closest I have would be Sam Heck out of K-State. I just think it's a little bit of a reach.
But lots of guys you could consider at 89.
Yes.
So why
exactly
reach for somebody?
Even guys you could consider at 129. So like if moving up and down at that part in the draft, we see it happen all the time. I think that they can finagle their way into a position. Hopefully it doesn't happen like the running back position, but Calvin guy worked out.
It did, but that can't be your plan. Every 7th round or time we have a 7th round pick, we're just going to nail it.
Right. Well, he's our 4th round pick because Ruben Hippolyte was a freaking reach.
You just switched him.
I have to make Ryan Poles look better. All right.
We're going to lump everyone else together.
Yeah, just skill positions. Skill position. Oh, I didn't mention defensive back. Honorable mention Zakee Wheatley. I have a 3rd round grade on him, but I know a lot of people have 2nd round grades on him as well.
In the comments, if you have a guy,
that's
right out there.
That's right. Okay, real quick. I don't think it's going to happen. Well, it could happen here. Wide receiver, running back. I have one name. I'm not going to go into detail on him, but Janarian Price, the running back 2 out of Notre Dame, who is projecting to be kind of like a David Montgomery type esque with more speed.
It worked really great with Roschon Johnson.
Yeah, it sure did.
Backing up Bijan. He took all the mileage, so this guy's really going to show what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, concussions, I think, played a big part in that,
fair
unfortunately.
Fair enough.
Okay, wide receiver, Elijah Surratt. Jeremy, okay, now it's not Jeremy Bernard. I mentioned Alabama. And Antonio Williams, 3 guys that I could see being targeted here. The 2 I just want to touch on is Elijah Surratt and Bernard, because these guys are both physical wide receivers who have yak capability. But what I really love about them is their willingness and ability to get dirty and make blocks. And we know, Ben Johnson, you got to block to get the rock. So I could see one of these guys at this point in the draft being that wide receiver 3. Look, I love Jade Walker and what he did on limited snaps last year. I love what I'm seeing out of him in his like little videos this year than what he's doing in the offseason. But you need more depth.
Well, and he can beat a guy who gets drafted. I mean, competition's a good thing.
That's right.
And you are replacing DJ Moore. So that wasn't nothing. Remember, we weren't saying he was a non-factor on your team. He certainly was. You just couldn't pay him what you were paying him.
Right. Exactly.
But you do need to have people in there that you feel as confident in to do what you need to do. And it's not just catching the ball, to your point.
Right.
You need to block in
this
offense.
2 quick names as notable mention. Chris Bell, wide receiver out of Louisville. My concern with him is he had an ACL tear. And then Chris Brazel, I know a lot of people are in love with him out of Tennessee. The Tennessee part makes me nervous.
Bayless.
He also had a traffic citation, not willing to appear type situation where he was speeding way above the speed limit. It was dismissed, so it's way less of a red flag, which I didn't mention, than Zion Williams' DWI that he had in December, which could potentially take him down.
I don't like when that kind of stuff gets into our analysis, but clearly that's the kind of stuff the teams have to be very well aware of and understand and be comfortable with any of the players they draft, because they're investing a lot in these guys.
All right. Are we ready to move on to our
full
mock draft? Guys, this is mock draft 6.0. And this
of 17.
We're going to get there. We have a month. And what I love about this draft is it is the first one that we are doing with trades.
Is that true?
Yes.
I don't know if that's true. We'll have to go back. You guys can go back.
Go back and tell me, but I am pretty sure this is the first draft that we have allowed trades.
All right. You might be right.
All right. Now, I got to know, is this the best Bears mock draft ever? Go to the comments right now. Don't even see what it is. Just go down there and say, yes, this is the best channel ever. Hit subscribe, blah, blah, blah.
Or watch it and you'll still think that.
That's right. Okay. You're going to see it all except for the trades. I will
All right, Halas Huddlers, the time has come for our mock draft 6.0. As Rob stated earlier, this draft does feature some trades.
Don't be surprised come draft weekend if the Bears use their draft capital to move up or back in all parts of the draft, just like we did here. Right away, you will notice that we do not have pick 25 anymore, and that is because we traded it to the Miami Dolphins for picks 30 and 94. An important thing to note, although it is a trade back, we still have a first-round pick, which will allow for the player selected to receive a fifth-year option on his rookie deal. That is hopefully something the Bears would want to employ because we were able to land a player that we are excited about that may not even be available at 25 on draft night, and we got him at 30 in Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. McNeil-Warren is an exciting prospect with probably the only knock against him being that he played at a small school at Toledo. He has good size, decent speed, and had great production in college, with one exciting statistic being his 9 career forced fumbles. He has demonstrated versatility to be utilized in a multitude of ways and would be a plug-and-play starter from day one. Excited to get EMW with pick 30. Next, we made another trade, sending picks 57 and 239 to Denver for picks 62 and 108. While only falling 5 picks with our first of 2 second-round picks, we also pick up a potentially valuable 4th-round pick and send a dart throw of a pick in 239 back. So, our 2 second-round picks were now number 60 and 62. At pick 60, we go after a cornerback in Brandon Cisse. Cisse has great speed and agility, and in addition to showing strong man coverage skills, has been known to contribute positively against the run game as well. With what could be a sneaky need for the Bears, we see a player that could potentially compete right away for cornerback 2. At number 62, we address edge rusher and select a player that Rob has already discussed earlier, Michigan's Derek Moore. Next up might be a bit of a surprise, but remember, Ben Johnson is not going to stand by and let players go off the board who he may be able to utilize to bolster the offense. We think we found that at pick number 89 with Arkansas running back Mike Washington Jr. We selected him in an earlier mock draft, even later than this pick, and were called out for reaching on the pick. Well, he performed impressively well at the combine, and now this seems like a potential spot to land an explosive playmaker with elite speed. He may not be very shifty, but he can break the big one, having 16 plays of 20-plus yards last season. It is exciting to think what he could do to break games open with explosive plays in a Ben Johnson offense. In round 3, at pick number 94, which we acquired with the trade down from pick 25, we stay on the offensive side of the ball and select Jacoby Lane out of USC. While he may need to refine his route running at the next level, Lane is a lengthy receiver standing at 6 feet 4 inches with the skill set of going up and getting contested catches. That is something that could surely be needed on this team, so an intriguing prospect for sure. With yet another pick obtained via trade, we decided to address center with pick 108 by selecting Logan Jones out of Iowa. Jones was the 2025 recipient of the Remington Trophy given to the nation's top center. He's an older prospect. He will turn 25 early in the 2026 season, and he lacks ideal size. However, he plays fundamentally sound and should be a good fit for a zone run scheme. With the acquisition of Garrett Bradbury, the Bears should be fine at center in 2026, but perhaps Logan Jones could be the answer in the years to follow. With pick 129, our second in the 4th round, we stay on the O-line and select Tristan Lee out of Clemson. Although Lee did get experience playing left tackle in college, he most likely would not be your definitive answer at that position if you're the Chicago Bears. He more so would be someone who could compete at the left tackle position with the current unknown status of who will win that job, and then be valuable depth as a swing tackle or even as a guard. If Dan Roshar and the Bears staff can develop Lee, perhaps he could be a replacement down the line for either Jonah Jackson or Joe Thuney. And with our final pick at number 241, we do what Rob said the Bears will certainly not do. we selected a DT after already selecting an edge earlier in the draft. At pick 241, we selected Skylar Gill-Howard out of Texas Tech. Gill-Howard is an undersized DT at 6'1" and only 280 pounds, which would likely be one of the reasons he would fall in the draft. That being said, Dennis Allen is known for preferring lighter DTs. What he lacks in size, he makes up for in quickness and effort. He has shown the ability to use that quickness to pressure the quarterback up the middle, but may struggle to take on and shed blocks in the run game. He is coming off an ankle injury, but hopefully that will not hamper his ability to compete right away to be part of a competitive rotation on the interior of the D-line. And that wraps up Mock Draft 6.0. Tell us what you think. What picks did you like? What picks left you scratching your head? And of course, who are some of the players and positions you are hoping the Bears consider in April's draft?
I'm going to defend myself here real quick. When you take a defensive end in the 7th or a defensive tackle in the 7th round, that's not taking a defensive tackle. It's just not. Like, that's a dart throw. I say it every year. Anything after the 5th round is literally just a dart throw. You're hoping you're getting your selection of UDFA guys at that point, and most of the time they don't work out, and your UDFA guy works out instead.
Manungai.
That's right.
Can't have it both ways, Rob. So you drafted a DT and an edge. The Bears might. So, we'll have to tune in and find out. But we still got 11 more mocks to get done before the real thing. So keep on coming back to the Halas Huddle for those.
Yeah. It is exciting to see you here. I gotta say, this has been fun. Bob, I hope you're having a good time on your vacation. I will not tell people where you are because we are so popular now. They might actually fly and try to find you. But yeah, I hope you're having a good trip. Looking forward to you coming back and then getting into the draft prep with us. I like having the conflicting opinions from the two of you because it keeps me on my toes. I like having the conflicting opinions from you guys in the chat. So please go in there, make some comments. The last one had a ton of comments. I tried to get to as many as I could.
I think to get to 17, there might be an episode where we each do our own mock.
We did that last year.
And then stack them.
And then we had a competition.
Yeah, there could be some of those coming.
And I think Justin won last year.
Well, I think the real Bears won.
Oh, hell yes.
They beat all of us.
Hell yes. All right.
All right, man. It was good.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Until next time, guys. Bear down, claws up.
It's after Packers always.